You know, Michael, when you're leaning forward like this to do a Donald Trump impression, because it's a lot of leaning and moving, you need something flexible. And there's nothing better than that, than a Twillory blazer from the Air Suit. It's so great, and I don't know where they make it. Could be China, but we're going to make it in America, too. Crooked Twillory, as we call it. It's bendy like Melania. It's so flexible, it allows for the perfect Trump impression, especially the Trump dance. And then the golf swing, look at that. You can't do that in a regular blazer. You really can't.
And we have a promotion now.
For how much off? Do we know?
I think 18.
18%? That's a great price.
You know about deals.
I know the art of the deal, and there's no better deal than Twillory. Pick one up right now. Rabbi Shlomo Katz, what does Jewish music mean to you? what does it mean to be authentically Jewish at a time when authenticity is paramount?
I came here for you to let me know. I think about these things all the time. I would know. Ami knows.
What? What do I know?
The answer to being authentically Jewish.
Oh.
No, wrong address.
Yes, to being yes.
I'm a little confused.
Me too, I guess, but it's a sarcasm.
It's all.
I just saw at the elementary school my kids go to. They're much younger, but they released like a video that the older kids had like three of the biggest rabbis, like three like YU Rosh Yeshiva came to the school to talk to all the boys in like 8th grade, and one of the kids asked like am I allowed to listen to non-Jewish music? Mm-hmm. And you're expecting them to give like some kind of like like as long as it moves you or it's there, and he's pretty much like, I mean, if you want to listen to classical music maybe, but no. And I'm like these kids aren't getting to 8th grade in this school.
Well, they're growing up here. I mean, what do they expect?
We had that conversation.
What do you mean?
Like what else? You're not living in you're not living in like a completely secluded society. Like they're gonna hear what's being heard out there.
Oh no, that's what I think. You're saying what is the rabbi thing?
That's what
Mm-hmm. They weren't Hasidim, They were they're like there's good music and bad music, and that's that.
The binary, whatever.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
That's a great question. Listen, I spoke about this with my Rebbe, also with Rav Weinberger. I spoke about it many times. Listen, I grew up on my dad is Baruch Hashem, a real musician, and there's so much good music in the house.
Right.
From Beatles to Yanni. I'm not sure how that, but Yanni was there. To a lot of good Israeli music, not Jewish Israel, but like Israeli, like if you know names like Mati Kaspi and Shlomo Artzi. And
they sound good. I haven't heard them, but the names sound legit.
The names sound legit. It's great music, and then obviously things progressed, and we got into finding our own vibe through Jewish music. But back in the day, I think the music was much more. The non-Jewish music was much more pure. The non-Jewish music was much more pure. Neil Young, obviously Simon and Garfunkel, Jackson Brown. I don't know. I'm not saying these guys were tzaddikim, but the music was pure. Mm-hmm. Today, I think it's a little.
Bridge Over Troubled Water is pretty filthy if you think about it. I know what you're saying. There was substance to. It wasn't all about a one-dimensional thing of like debauchery.
100%.
Or commercialism
also.
Right, it was about real things.
There
like
was
Ohio State shootings and things like that, like real things.
I heard the new trend actually is instead of starting from a place of like what does like my soul want to say and put it into music form, artists are now starting from what songs would go really good on the background of Instagram Reels. So it'll become like a viral hit through Reels. So they design the song to like hit at certain points and drop at certain points and like have a certain tone. Timing. So like influencers will use it in their reel.
So it has the right arc for virality.
And that's where, well said, and that's where it comes from. Now.
Yeah, this is the conversation in pop music in general, and it's a double-edged sword because there was a you're talking like in the 60s, 70s era of like the heyday of when popular music was also what you'd call socially conscious music, or it was actually substantive. And I don't know, like these days, you also at the same time could never build an audience without approval.
Correct.
You had these gatekeepers who said, these guys got something.
Right.
So maybe there was a filter going on that keeps. It's now you get a lot. You get an oversaturation of everything because with access, you get everything. You get the good and the bad. So somebody like Yishai Rebo can be in his dorm room just playing, and now he's everywhere.
Easy
so
Chareidim.
that can travel. So I think it's just the gates open and it's a matter of what you let in, you know?
I think so. Deep. Really? We're going deep really fast.
Really quickly.
This is fast.
Sorry, hold on. Let's mix it up. That was so good. That was great. The best words. I told you.
This
You
is
know,
why
Rabbi
I'm
Shlomo,
here.
I have the best words.
This is why I'm here.
Would you see the Bob Dylan movie?
Did I see it?
Would you see it?
Should I?
I
didn't see
loved it. I just saw it. I loved it. I thought it
Yes.
was amazing.
Yeah, I would.
You would see it. Okay.
I mean,
Who cares?
unless there's something you're telling me.
We had a similar conversation with Alex Clare about this because he was saying also when he was getting from, and they were like, here's what you can listen to, and it's bum, ba, bum, bum. And he was
Right.
like, oh, God, no, it's terrible.
So the thing that this rabbi said, he's like, maybe songs from like the 40s or the 50s, I think he was like, even this is what he said. Even new Jewish music is not Jewish music. That's what he said. So he's like, if with the beat and everything, he's like, sometimes I'll be at a wedding and I'll hear the music and I have to walk out because it's not
a Jewish beat.
It's not a Jewish beat. And I was thinking like, the Jewish beats we're used to are just copycatting from like 50s and 60s songs. It's not like inherently Jewish either.
I mean, oddly enough, when we were marching in here to the studio, you started singing a song. You remember what you were singing outside? I asked you, are those Yidden that live here? Those Yidden that live here?
Yidden. Is that a Japanese thing?
That's a German. It's a German folk song,
Right.
That was taken and then put on.
And all the Queens Jews go crazy for that one. And they think that's from.
I don't know. I have no idea. Honestly, to get back to, I have no idea how to really answer that question. I think Jewish music ideally should be one that you could pray with, with any emotion that you're feeling. Ideally, I think that's what it is. But until you get there, you have to go through a bunch of different things. But who am I to say what is or what isn't? I don't know. I'm still looking for mine.
Pray with.
I'm still looking, but pray. I would say, to daven with, to pray with. I think that's a big one, definitely.
No. Doing something. I mean, I always also say that, like, musical notes are not Jewish or not Jewish. This is universal. It's the language of God. So.
Well, that's beautiful.
That's from a Beethoven biopic I saw, and it was played by Ed Harris. And in the trailer, it's just like Beethoven playing, and he says, "Music is the language of God." And I'm like, I never forgot that line. I'm like, that's true.
That's a chazak. That's a strong line.
And so you can be dark with it, or you can bring light, And on this episode of Ami's House, we're bringing light with Rabbi Shlomo Katz. I think, so that's my take on it.
The Bob Dylan movie was good, though. You should
Tell
see
me,
it, if it's
why?
on the plan.
Well, it was all sung live.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. I'm not a Bob Dylan fan. I realize in retrospect I like him more than I admit to myself. But it was about. I thought it was about like what happens when you're a genius. What that does to the people around you and the people who like are supposed to be your mentors, and then you like leapfrog them by leaps and bounds. But it was cool because Timothy Chalamet, Timothy Chalamet, is like on the verge of becoming as famous as Bob Dylan was on the verge of becoming as famous.
Really?
Like
And
at that
his
age.
trajectory.
Yeah, they're like at the same point almost that he played Bob Dylan in the movie. So he like really captured something about like that like experience of like becoming the most famous person in the world overnight, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's impressive and technically speaking because he sang everything live and
Yeah,
learned
and
it
he
in 5
was-
years. He learned how to
right.
play guitar and
That's
sing in 5 years.
amazing.
Yeah, and he was
Oh,
awesome.
he learned guitar for the.
Yeah, they've been working on the movie
Yeah.
for 5 years. He learned the guitar.
Wow.
And when I watched the clips, they were smart because you watch these Hollywood music movies and they overdub everything in
Right.
post.
Right.
And you're like, something feels so wrong here when you're watching this. And everything you see in the movie is him
live.
playing
Wow.
live. Because
Yeah.
you can't overdub Bob Dylan.
Wow.
The timing, everything. It has
No.
to be raw.
Yeah.
So you can actually feel that, right? When you see the performances.
Yeah, yeah.
Watch some
I'm
scenes.
like, I think I like him singing Bob Dylan more than Bob Dylan sometimes. He had an awesome line. He said, people always look at me and they ask, how do the songs just come to you? And he says, what they're really asking is, why didn't the songs come to them
What they're really.
Wow.
Why didn't the songs come to them?
instead?
Did you see the interview with the
that's
actual
great.
Bob Dylan about that? The 60 Minutes? Could you
No.
do what you did again? And Bob's like, he doesn't give you the answer you want in an interview.
Never.
The real Bob Dylan.
I have a great Reb Shlomo Karlbach and Bob Dylan story.
Yeah?
Actually, now you're mentioning
I got
it,
one
yeah.
after you're done too. Yeah.
With both
With the Rebbe and Bob Dylan.
Oh, right. That also happened
Yeah.
a few times. But in the early 80s, there was a gathering of in Santa Monica with Reb Shlomo, Bob Dylan, and Joni Mitchell. Actually, pretty cool, no? And someone asked, I have to find this tape. Someone asked Reb Shlomo, what's your greatest dream? And he said, my greatest dream is to greet and hug and say hello to every human being in the world. And Dylan was like, Rabbi, that's my greatest nightmare.
Oh, I was about to say, he really loathed the fame a little.
That's amazing.
David Melech Yisrael. Can we do that one? Hey.
Although, you know what? I have a weird claim to fame. I performed as a little kid on the Chabad telethon right before. Bob Dylan was there too.
Yeah.
He played harmonica with his son-in-law, with Peter Hillman.
Really?
Yeah.
That was like in
awesome.
85.
Whoa.
Did you meet him?
80s. Yeah, but did I meet him? I walked by him. I was 5. I don't think...
hey, little boy, play guitar.
Yeah, he's like, it's probably a good thing you don't spend too much time with it.
That's Rabbi Shlomo, little boy. Hey. There's an interview with 60 Minutes with the Real Thing where they're like, do you think you could do that again? What you created? No.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do that again. Hey, Mr. Tambourine Man, play a song for me, that jingle jangle moment. I come following you. I did it. I don't know how I did it, but I did it. I can't do it again. I could do other things now.
But that's the cool thing about him, is that he was always real.
Yeah.
Like he never...
Yeah.
Apparently, he hung out with Norm Macdonald.
That makes sense to me.
He
They were like
invited him over.
friends?
Yeah, because Norm Macdonald was also this like weird character from like the 1920s, kind of. He like wasn't like a modern person. You know Norm Macdonald.
Yeah,
right?
I
From
can't
SNL.
I didn't know that had a shidduch going on.
Yeah. He said he would spend days and days at his house just like talking with Bob
Interesting.
Dylan.
That kind of makes a lot of sense because you can never tell where they're at, either of them.
Yeah, that's true too.
You cannot tell.
That's
Even friends of them, they're like, I never knew if he was with me or messing.
Yeah.
You know?
So apparently he went to 770 to like a sikha from the Rebbe, and the Rebbe was saying l'chaim to everyone in the crowd, and he skipped Bob Dylan, and Bob Dylan could tell. So he told his friend who brought him here, like, what the hell? So his friend spoke to the Rebbe, and he said, I brought a friend here. He's like kind of famous. He thinks like you skipped him at the time. And he said, is it possible like maybe he like had something to do with Christianity at some point? And he was like, yeah. He's like, tell him to go to the mikveh and come back. And then he came back the next time and he gave him the l'chaim.
One guy to make Bob Dylan deferential to him.
Yeah.
Robert Rebbe.
Yeah.
That's was Bob Zimmerman. What was the real name?
Robert Zimmerman.
Zimmerman. So he went.
Yeah.
I took a dunk, came back. The Rebbe get $1.
The mikveh waters.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Holy Land, how's it going over there? Give me the latest. Quite a year.
I would have to check the news right now to know, like, it's happening so fast.
Yeah.
Everything is happening so much, so fast. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm only here for a few hours. I just landed this morning, and I feel like I've been gone for weeks. Because when you're in it, you're really in it.
Yeah.
You're full on in it. You guys know. You're
Yes.
in it.
Refreshing the feed is a terrifying mix of feelings of what's about to come.
Yeah.
Because there's no good outcomes. The reality itself is kind of a sickening reality.
No, but there is one really, really optimistic piece of this whole thing, is that there's a new generation that I'm getting to know, that I'm seeing that they're not gonna compromise. They're not gonna buy into all the what we call the idol worship of this last generation, which is being politically correct. They're done with it. They're done with it.
Well, yeah, I want to ask about that because my general question I've thought about in coming into this conversation in general was that, you're a person who brings together a community, builds a community through music, through connecting, and this belief about the amazing feeling of unity that the Jewish community as a whole, all of Am Yisrael, felt post-October 7th. You have that squared with this deep-seated objection, sense of division when you see people within the community, whether it's political disagreements, whether you're looking at them as opponents or enemies, like that frustration versus that sense of unity. Like, how do you balance those two things, especially like at a time when I felt like we were all on the same page, and then now as hostage deal comes out, or the same conversations start to come up, or the same solutions of two-state solution, this and I was in Israel recently on this delegation. I meet these people who've been through hell and back, have been through the worst of it, and I would never judge them in any sort of way other than the fact that they come to the same conclusion at the end of being sort of left of center. Even if they've experienced the biggest atrocity, there's this impulse to say, but we must fight we have to coexist together, we must have peace. There's this, it's almost like halachic, it's almost this like
100%.
commitment to an ideology or an idealism that can be really dangerous. And it's hard to square my feeling of that, of frustration, but also empathy and wanting
I remember I texted you while you were
We had a few voice notes.
That's
there.
right, because it's true, it's there. But I think that you cannot judge anyone, especially people that have. You can't judge anyone.
Yeah.
Stop. Like that's it, right?
On to judging.
But now we're going to judge a little bit. I know. I'm just talking about this new generation that's younger. They're not getting caught up in the conversation that you read online. It's not part of the thing that you'll see. It's something new that's brewing that I just have such a dire need and will to connect to myself, because getting lost in the conversation, no one comes out better. In these conversations, no one comes out better.
I remember on October 8th, I sat down. It was like right after Shmini Atzeres rest. So I sat down to do work in the morning, and I was like, I'm not doing work today. So I went to go take my sukkah down. And as I'm taking my sukkah down, I opened your SoundCloud, and I'm like, I want to hear what Shlomo has to say today. And the first thing I heard you say was like, you're like, I'm not being politically correct anymore. I'm done with it. And my reaction was like, why are you making this about politics? What are you talking about? Like what does this have to do with like woke and PC? And I was like, I think Shlomo's kind of lost that. I'm not. But now a year and a half later, I do see the connection. I do see the connection between how politics could have led to a moment like that, and the way we talk about things could have led to a moment like that. Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
I also had this feeling of like, at first, I was like, okay, October 7th to me draws a very clear line between our opponents and our enemies. This was like October 8th. So going back to that, Joe Biden gets up and he says, we stand firmly with our ally Israel. There's evil is so clear as day and we will fight it. And I'm like, okay, so all this talk about Obama and Biden and all of this is a little bit hyperbolic. The actual enemies have just revealed themselves. The real forces of darkness have revealed themselves. Let's not confuse the two. Then you get into it and you start to say, hey, wait a minute. You have your monsters, you have your evil, but then you have the people who won't face it. Yeah. And then you have the people who will apologize for it or will put pressure on the forces of light trying to fight it. And that just is where I don't know where to place the rage now, because it's like, hey, the evil's going to be there. Either we're going to fight it with a clear vision here and a clear sense of morality, or we're not. Right. And I don't know what's more, it's like a lahavdil situation of comparing the two, but it's like one kind of enables the other, even if it doesn't mean to. Right. And it's very frustrating.
It's confusing, but that's if you're fed by that. Meaning if that's where you're putting your energy, you're going to get more and more confused. I'm talking about a completely different input of feelings, emotions, and words that doesn't get lost. Like soldiers, like the actual soldiers themselves. Yeah, they're not confused at all. They're willing to. I think October 9th, 10th, and I remember the first 2 weeks I'd walk on the street. I'm like, he's willing to actually die so that I could live here. I have nothing to say. This person's willing to die. This kid's going to be a soldier in 2 years. Started looking at everyone like that, and you're like, wow, we're actually willing to give our lives for each other to be here. And then you don't think Biden, Netanyahu, you don't think about any of these things. It's a generation of Mesirut Nefesh, of I don't know how you say that properly in English, of
self-sacrifice.
Yeah, Mesirut Nefesh, or
giving. Like, what are you willing to give your life for? What are you living to give your life, your soul for?
And meaning that transcends the minutiae, the politics of this.
Correct.
It's a real sense of meaning and purpose.
Oh my God!
I have the best words. Yeah,
no, but that's actually It's been
it did inject a whole new sense of meaning into everybody.
Everybody, everything, 100%. So it's been the hardest year and a half, and it's been to say it's meaningful is an understatement. Yeah. My God, it's been meaningful every second, every day.
How have you changed over the last year and a half?
I think I hope I've changed most as a father. Actually, it's interesting. I have 6 children. Thank God, we have 6 children. I think as a father, I probably have changed.
Thank you for the inclusive language. Yes.
We. Thank you. I'm in America.
They have 6 children.
Have you had kids in the last?
And we and yes, and we had a daughter. We had a precious daughter, Chava Geula. Chava Geula, that was born about 7 months ago.
Oh, mazel.
Yeah, that's probably been.
Yeah,
Changed.
11-month-old.
That's how.
Yeah, number 6.
Wow.
That was huge. I think definitely as a father. I think everything else as a rabbi, as a musician, all those things get sharper, hopefully, and better. And but like change-wise, concept of family has been. Listen, you see your kids go. My kids are different products of my kids are different. It's a conversation I had with David in the studio in Yerushalayim 2 days ago. Like, what would you do right now? Like, David, you don't understand. Like, I see a change in my child's like punim. You know, I see that. Like, I'm not confused about what needs to be done at all, at all. And it's not rage. It's just like natural instinct of a father to protect his children. And that's been the deepest. That's hit me more than anything. Yeah, by far.
So one of the phrases that came up when I was there for the 4 days, traveling through and talking to these different people who've experienced the worst of it, is suicidal empathy. It's like, for this idea of a commitment to to some sort of ideal that doesn't really exist. There's the suicidal empathy. They took us to the Kerem Shalom crossing. They took us to see the humanitarian aid trucks going in. And Israel's trying to operate from a posture of defensiveness and look, world that disdains and has contempt for us. We're good, And I was so appreciative of what they were doing and giving us access. But I'm also like, you understand that when you start there, you've lost. When you walk into a news debate about Israel and try to brag about how much you're essentially sacrificing your own security for others, you lost. Yeah. And they're only going to hate you more for it.
Now we're getting into the exactly like to me we're still waiting to act like a Jewish, like
not Jewish, like
Jewish Lion of Judah.
Yes, Lion of Judah.
We're not there. You don't Jewish. No, you don't bring in humanitarian aid for Amalek.
Yeah.
You just don't do that. And back in the day, to say such words like, "Oh my God, you're such a great..." No, I'm just someone that knows that to protect his family, you can't hide behind trying to look like a mensch anymore because it's gotten you nowhere.
Yeah,
nowhere.
And had you been like that before also?
Well, I personally, the truth is,
it was now it's not a...
Exactly. Now it's like, it is what it is. Like, listen,
no, but it's important. It's an important... Yeah, go ahead.
I was saying, like, in my shul, like, there's one word, I think I've only given, like, one actual halachic psak, right? There's one word you're not allowed to say. Palestinean. Hopefully, with that jet lag, I sounded right. Because saying that word is basically giving legitimacy to a counterclaim of your right to the land. Well, there's no such nation. It never existed. We kind of created that. Let's change the narrative. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And I really believe this deeply. The children are begging us to stop using this fake entity because it's leading them all to their future lives of hell. They're all going to die because of their own people. All these kids, this whole generation of kids, they're like, they can't say it to us because then they'll be killed, but they're basically like hinting to us, can you please get us out of here? Can you please give us a chance to be alive? It has nothing to do with two-state solutions. It has to do with just facts on the ground reality. So
there's a yearning of like, not just get us out of here physically, but get us out of here spiritually, mentally.
Get us out of here. Yeah, but physically too. But physically, I mean, geographically as well. Not just, correct.
It's like the mentality of this false story we've told ourselves that we will come back and uplift and liberate Palestine, which we decided to manufacture this narrative to basically want to, as a cover for destroying Israel, like help us get rid of that. 100%. I mean, they can't say that they're children. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And you know what? When Trump changes the game, to get into it a little bit, and starts to say these things, it's like once you said it, verbalized it, you watch the press.
Yeah.
They go...
Right.
Well, but where would they go? What are they about? They don't want to come back. It's a hell. It's a demolition. Why would they want to come back? And everyone's like, wait a minute. Jordan, Egypt, all these countries that caused the refugee problem to begin with, I'm suddenly now shifting the pressure, and the king of Jordan sits there...
Yeah, so
He's got something. I don't know if
it's true. He couldn't.
I want to thank President Trump for having us. Hey, there's something going on.
There's
there.
something
Everyone's
going
like, look how nervous. I'm like, maybe, but
It's
that
not
might
only
change.
nerves, yeah.
He's a king. No one's ever told him. You know? Like, my eyes are normal, right? Like, yeah.
But like, you see this classic, like, vindication of like the Arab world's posture publicly when he goes home. We will never let the. And then he goes and he says to President Trump, like, kisses the ring.
100%.
And it's like the second you shift the pressure valve, like, people were like, finally we have a president who speaks Arabic. It's like, it's not only good for Israel. It's the whole point. Like, playing into delusion destroys everything. Right. And so...
And we need a prime minister that speaks Arabic too.
So yeah, what's the...
We need a prime minister that speaks Arabic.
You got a problem? What's the problem?
A lot of people think Bibi hard right winger crazy. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I'm dying to hear this.
Yes.
No.
I'm dying to hear this.
No, listen, he's done so much for Am Yisrael, like many people,
Yeah.
but the vision, there's no vision.
There's no vision.
What's the vision?
It's a little blurry.
There's no, like, people need, like, especially the youth of today, they want a vision. You need to be a visionary. Vision. One of the things we're doing in our shul, we changed from being a board to a vision-led organization, actually, to present vision. That's what people want. That's what people get vitality, excitement. There's no vision. And he's done amazing things for Am Yisrael, and he's also held us back in many ways. We have to say thank you for everything, but go with people that with vision. And there aren't many.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any?
There's one. I'm actually
Ben-Gvir?
kind of close to him. No. There's one.
I don't know if you can officially endorse any public podcast. Yes, you are a rabbi after all.
No. He's a Jew that's given his life for Am Yisrael. That's Moshe Feiglin.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're
know,
familiar with.
Oh, yeah?
No, he hasn't
I'm not
really.
in it, but
He hasn't really. He used to be a member of Knesset. He's the one that tried to stop the Oslo. I call it the Amalek Accords. Didn't
enough.
work. Yeah, but we need vision. I mean, even amongst.
What would you call Bibi? Like a pragmatist, or someone who just plays the short term politics of it
I'm
all?
a politician.
Yeah, just the career. I mean, early days, he articulated a vision when he had that sort of. You watch old
That famous clip in '78
when he's looking good.
Yeah.
When
He's
everyone's
looking
like,
good. Benjamin
"Damn."
Natai, 28-year-old.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, Natai, right.
that's what he went by. Benjamin
yes.
Natai.
He's like, I am saying that. No, I'm not saying a two-state solution is feasible. I think that the Arab world must be accountable.
He's rapid fire BB at that point.
At that point, yeah.
But that was it's a different animal. You're saying that
40 years ago, 50 years ago.
40.
I'm saying
50 years ago.
substantively, it's a he's articulating something different than what's
It's the
become.
same, but listen, it's the same thing that's happening on the political arena that we're looking for vision in the spiritual world. We're looking for vision. We're looking for rebbes, not rabbis anymore. We're looking for vision. We're looking for someone that says, "Look what we could be. Let's go for what we could be." It's happening in both areas. I feel it everywhere.
Yeah.
So who keeps him, if he's unpopular on the right and unpopular on the left, who is keeping him in power?
Fear.
Say more.
Is Kfir an Israeli politician?
No.
I know. I'm just kidding.
Fear is actually my second cousin.
That's fear.
Fear.
Yeah.
Fear. Yeah, but that's
Well,
usually
right now
keeps
it's a
me-
time of great instability. Like to think about that is hard in the midst of.
There's, right.
So he's more precarious than people might think. Nobody essentially wants him. in
None of
power.
us could understand what it's like to be him.
Yeah.
Let's call it like spade for
Yeah.
spade. None of us have any idea what it's like to be him. But the playing, the humanitarian trucks going in, and on the one hand saying, "Look how we're taking," it just won't. It doesn't go for the next generation. They're not going to buy into it anymore.
Just imagine getting up there and saying, "Humanitarian aid trucks. What country would do such a thing?
No,
They're at
none
war."
in the world.
So the second you do that, no one asked America in World War II, where's the humanitarian
Right.
corridor for the local Germans of
Right.
Dresden? I didn't see it. No one's asking that question.
Yeah.
You can't, on the one hand, say Hamas is responsible for all this destruction and then take responsibility yourself.
Right. And also
You
not
can't
take
do
any
that.
accountability for
It.
Like he's all into accountability except for himself also.
Oh, for BB.
Yeah, I don't think he's never taken accountability for anything and never spoken to Israeli media, from what I
I
understand.
also think that if there was a leader like that would not just take accountability but show vision and show excitement and show a direction, I think people that live in this country would be much more drawn to move home. Actually,
Yeah.
I'm not digging anything. I'm just saying.
I'm drawn.
I'm just saying.
Any video I do now, it's a funny video. I love matzo balls. Come to Israel. I love Shabbos. Come here. Come home. Wow, work was tough. Come home.
I spoke to a friend of mine who is he's Jewish and he knows he's Jewish, but he doesn't have any like religious practice in his life at all. And he was
I need a second Briss, yeah.
He was telling me that he's thinking about moving out of America because like he thinks America is on such a bad path. Mm-hmm. So he was like, maybe like Italy, maybe like Canada. And I said to him, I was like, would you ever consider moving to Israel? And he went, hell no.
Okay.
He said that's the most unsafe place in the entire world.
Unsafe.
And I'll just think to myself, like, I think that might be the difference of what like a Torah education is, like that right there. Of like, I don't disagree with anything he's saying. Everything he says, I think is true. But then there's that like that second gear of like Emunah that you get.
It's
like,
Emunah and a window. I don't know what connection he has, what exposure he has to what's going on the ground.
No, he knows. He knows. Oh, like on the ground, he has Israeli family.
But it's the kinship, I guess, that's lacking. There's been no built up.
Yeah, and the optimism that like it will be okay.
Right.
We will figure this out.
What do you think in general of like the Jews of the diaspora and the role that we play? I know that's a very panel type of question, but everybody's kind of, Israel's got its hooks in me a little bit in terms of like, there's the October 7th in Israel, and we talk about all the time the October 8th here.
Right.
Where what Israel went through, incomparable in terms of tragedy, and then here we're looking at a world that doesn't care or supports it, or too many, and you're like, now we all feel pretty uncomfortable.
I think that the community here, not just here where we are, but the diaspora community has shown up incredibly. Like this actually sounds being politically correct, but I actually mean to.
You actually mean it.
I actually mean it. I'm being very, very, very sincere. I have a lot of ties to a lot of different communities, and it's beautiful and it's heartwarming. And at the same time, I feel like we gotta shift. We gotta shift a little bit more into realizing that if we really are believers in the book, the next chapter of the future of our children is not here. It's only one place. So I have to do my role to live it, to share it with excitement, of getting people excited about the next chapter of the future.
There's no minivans though.
See?
you gotta.
Can I hear you can ship
to get
it.
into the back row.
I heard you can ship.
You should come to my community to save views. Talk about minivans.
I heard you can ship them. There's a way.
I have a beautiful minivan.
No one's focusing on minivan shipment as like you're focusing on getting people excited about Israel, but no one's focusing on minivan shipment. Maybe that's the key.
I'm joking.
But there's actually value to what you're saying. I mean this seriously. Like
to make it comfortable, you're saying?
There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Why does it have to be that it needs to be suffering? Moving alone
Squeegees too, by the way.
It doesn't have to be like that.
Can we get like just a ledge between the bathroom and the shower?
Just
something. Yeah.
Listen, I live on a mountaintop that may be the mountaintop that Abraham took Isaac when they were going to the Akedah, seeing, hey, look, it's over there. Like I actually live there. Yeah. When you live in that consciousness, a lot of things that are very important now just become less important.
The historical society in England is actually really wonderful. You know what you're saying? Yes, the connection is beyond.
Connected I am to Englewood. I am.
Yeah, of course.
I was born here.
I was born here too.
What do you see the difference between your kids and your friends' kids who are raised in America?
Two completely different worlds.
Tell us.
I can't even begin to. No, really, it's
name
different.
Name a close friend by name and trash their kids.
Yeah, just talk about the kid.
They're all beautiful. No, it's a completely different experience. Oh, sorry. It's a completely different experience of going through this world. I can't compare it on any level. Not better, God forbid. That's what I always tell people. Like, no. It's not about.
I can't help but feel like we're cosplaying Judaism a little bit here sometimes when I come back from Israel now. I never felt that way. This is gonna be music to your ears.
I'm already like, you should know my level of enjoyment. Just like
I'm just saying, I was not one of these guys growing. Nachon, I always loved Israel. Nachon, oh, you have to come Nachon and start doing the accent. I'm like, what's happening to you? I was not like the seminary girl kissing the ground. I love it. I'm connected, but I'm like, I also love America. I'm here, and I'm like an American Jew. But then, past year and a half. And then you go and you start to just realize, like, when your identity becomes front and center as a Jew and it's hoisted upon you, then you come back here and you're like, and I know that we romanticize visits to Israel because you go and it's this elevated experience, especially during holidays. You come back here and you're like, oh, there was a Simchas Beis Shoeva in Teaneck. We went. They had donuts. And you're just like cosplaying, it feels like.
Yeah.
Keep on talking. Yeah.
I hate everything.
I think there's the Jews I know in Israel, even my friends who have made Aliyah just in the past few years, they there's a degree of life.
Yeah.
They're more alive in a lot of ways, and I even see a separation growing between me and them. Of like, they stay up later, they go out more, they have more fun, they're more impulsive. Like they're just like more alive.
So I think that would be the great. I think let's
They'll
tie back
crash
to
and
your
burn while
question.
you're stable and overweight one day.
But to go back to what you said, I think that's actually the distinction. Life.
Yeah.
Alive, 100%. And you say alive? There's so much. They've been around so much death. I can't
They
explain.
feel
it.
its fragility much more than we do, and therefore maybe that's a part of that drives all of Israeli life.
What else?
Yeah.
How else do you explain?
Yeah.
No, how else do you explain the story?
Like, it's not unusual to just see a bunch of people just randomly put their hands up in the sky and start dancing and screaming in Israel together.
No.
And you'll be like, oh, yeah, that happened. If I saw that in Teaneck, I'd freak out. I'd be like,
Right.
"Well, hey.
Right?
Yeah, they don't even have the energy for it there. Their back would all go out.
We're very
Like,
tired.
They're very, very tired people. Teaneck people are very tired.
Very tired
They're
people.
You just don't have the schlump factor as much.
No.
Maybe I'm
No,
not
you
the
don't.
schlump
You
factor.
don't.
It's true. I think our friend Isaac, our mutual friend Isaac, someone told him when he was thinking about what to do. He's like, you know what, like 70-year-old Israeli men do? They sit on their porch and they drink coffee together and they talk. Like, you know what 70-year-old American men do? They sit at home alone and watch TV.
You know, my dad gets together with his friends. He's 76,
Yeah.
thank God. Together at a cafe.
Yeah.
And they.
They're alive.
It's a great place to be old. It's a great place to be a kid. So it's in between. Got to figure this out. That's the hard thing. But it's not maybe it's not that hard.
It really isn't that hard. It really, really isn't. But we have to create more of a draw of
Well,
a
American
soul draw.
Gaza is going to be very comfortable. If I could just keep speaking English, I mean, the internet's going to hate me for that. But whatever.
Whatever.
Exactly.
The fact that you haven't been completely banned by now is already like a huge,
You know, a lot of
So-
look. As far as that stuff's concerned,
Yeah.
you know, I've heard the other side of it of people who were really like, I wasn't a professional Instagrammer. I use Instagram to express
Right.
other art, comedy. I'm an entertainer that uses Instagram. People who
Right.
are like influencers, they had brand deals. I've met a bunch of people with different stories where they lost a lot of revenue and a lot of brand deals and stuff like that. I gained a whole new community of people. So it's been mostly,
Right.
I'm encouraged by the fact that it's been mostly a positive
Good.
thing to speak up for the truth, for Israel, for what I've been doing in the advocacy space.
Have you gained followers? Or
Yeah.
evened out? You have.
In net?
Since the beginning, yeah, net.
Since I started?
Well,
since
of course you gained. It's
Yeah.
how you just explained it.
Well, yeah, I lost maybe 15,000, gained, and then broke even on that, and now
Yeah.
I've surpassed that.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like Jordan Peterson. Integrity, tell the truth. You'll come out the other end of it, So,
I believe it.
I definitely feel that way. And also, but there's been people who've taken a hit in actual, like they were on Instagram professionally in a specific way. My Instagram's like a means to
Right.
bring my stuff out there. But I don't know. Yeah, no regrets. Michael told me not to post anything.
I didn't know he sent me the video on like October 8th. I'm like, oh man, no one needs to hear from you.
Apparently, Baruch
I was
Hashem, you were
wrong.
wrong.
I was
Yeah,
wrong.
Baruch
I was
Hashem,
wrong.
you were
I was
wrong.
wrong.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God for that one.
Yeah, they made their way around, I guess. I discovered that it's also the label, like labeling yourself as like I don't do. It's always like I don't know, I'm not an advocate. I'm not an activist. I make
Right.
jokes. I make music. People, you lean into the lanes and constructs you put around yourself, and until you step into something else, like you have to step out of the familiar one first,
Even I
and
used
then
to.
it builds around you with time.
I used to never wear my tzitzis out. I would
Yeah.
never wear my kippah around. Just like it was just like a personal kind of style
You had a
choice.
cross necklace.
Right,
Like, Michael,
right.
you're not fooling anybody.
It was just a style choice. I go to
Yes.
church on Sundays.
I
I
know.
got baptized.
Yeah.
No, but even now, I'm saying like you came out as a Jew on Instagram, and I feel like I've come out also like
Yeah.
a little bit, just in
Yeah.
my life.
Totally.
I'll go to meetings with a kippah on. Like it's just
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like
yeah.
what am I doing here?
That's
You know?
I never took it off. Remember, it was always like
No, I wouldn't take
I'm
it off,
not-
but I wear a hat. I'd wear a hat.
But even just like okay, like the posture. It's like my dad didn't wear one growing up.
Right.
But I remember even it was a conscious thing in the music side of things. I never took it off going on stage. I'd wear a hat or a thing, but there was a period of time when I was doing comedy and it wasn't so kosher. So I had that phase. Then I took the keep off, and I said it was out of respect for that. So then But then I cleaned it up a little bit. I have to get some
Keep
shuls.
those back on.
Have to get the banquets. But yeah, I think once I'm like, well, nothing else. It's a Metallica and
Nothing else matters.
Yeah.
After on October 8th, I was like, wow. But I feel like this is if you could sum up the last year and a half for everyone, whether it's Trump politics, right wing, red pill, Israel, the coming out, the waking up, the nudging out of what you think is your default mindset position is a big. Is the word of the day as far as what people have experienced.
But don't sum it up yet, because I think we're still in it.
Tell me.
I mean, a
Say
lot of people are they're up to like, okay, so let's look back. Like, wait a second. You still got about how many hostages? Are still
68, I think.
15. Whatever that is,
Yes.
and right now as we're talking, we're in a really, really intense spot with the Vivas family and a lot of things going on, and we're going to be finding out a lot more things in the next few months about things that took place. That
Yes,
a lot more.
What do you mean?
as people came home and there's stuff to find
Yeah,
out.
there's
Oh,
a
yeah,
lot.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
a lot of things to
Okay.
find out. A lot of things that we aren't allowed to. Like, I mean, as someone that took groups down south repeatedly through November, December, January, February, for months and months, we would go into certain. We realize, oh my God, and they would say, you can't share what happened here because it'll danger the hostages if this gets out. We haven't even begun. So why am I so keen on like sharing the Besorah, the gospel, Havdil? Because I think that we're rebirthing. We're going through a complete new, dangerous word here, transformation of a new entity, a new identity, and why not do that with many more people than just whoever we have right now?
This is the scene in the Matrix.
So what do you say then to the part of the Jewish community who doesn't want to come on that transition with us?
Transition was.
I said
Yeah, that was the word.
transformation.
Yeah, that was the
He
word.
took it to right. I don't judge.
We're banning it. Yeah.
I'll say it's all good. The love's still there.
Yeah.
But eventually we'll understand we need each other, and we don't need each other outside the land. We need each other in the land. We don't need each other to figure things out of how to continue the growth of things outside. We need each other for right now, because it's a real. We keep on saying in Israel, "Ze iyum kiyumi." It's an existential threat. Is that the right word for it in English? When something's like if you're going to exist or not.
Yeah. Existential threat.
Existential threat. That's what we're up against.
That's the stakes.
100%. 100%. But we gotta keep the love zero judgment, zero religious judgment, zero everything. Like all that thing has got to go, and there's a new generation that's willing to be dreamers and children of prophets and to live real, deep, meaningful spiritual lives. That we have to figure out a way to get that. And that's the message with all the advocacy, because haters are gonna hate. How many people actually change their mind because they learn new facts on the ground? It'd be interesting to actually think. You probably actually have gone into that, like tachlis, people that find out new information, how much it's actually changed them.
If I have to assess it, I think the people I've had the most impact on are those who could have fallen victim to the counter narrative and were like, no. I think the way that's been articulated, that
so
is
important.
right. I didn't have the words to say it. I had an impulse, an inclination to say, like, this does seem evil, but there's such a toxic, poisonous counter narrative out there that makes you question. It's not evil can thrive not just because it can overcome you with strength or power, but when you question your own morality.
Right.
So that you have to say, maybe there's a point there. Maybe they're the good guys, and that's how it ultimately works.
Interesting.
So there's so much confusion in the language about this conflict,
narrative.
all this narrative
God.
stuff. So I think for a lot of people who were like, well, if there's all of this counter narrative going on to demonize Israel and to say maybe that they deserve this, how could otherwise this have happened?
Yeah.
People would never just do this. I'm like, they would.
Yeah.
They would just do
Yeah.
this. You know how I know? Because they told us. They said exactly why.
Right.
I would believe them. And then using their own values to kind of make the point of like, just know what you're fighting for and what they're fighting for when they say these things.
Right.
When they say free Palestine, are they fighting for a place that would be free? No. And so saying those things, I'm not an intifada revolution person. I've yet to hear from saying, hey, that does happen. You hear stories like that of these people, especially in the Muslim world, which I can tell you, I've met a bunch of people
Interesting.
that have like were raised as anti-Semites in Yemen
right.
or whatever. They have their story. I don't know if I've reached them, but certainly the people that could otherwise have fallen prey to confusion.
Sure.
I think that's been effective. Still working on Candace, but I've met people in the advocacy space, and I've been most intrigued, at least lately, by those in the Muslim world, or the Christian Arab world, the Yosef Haddads, the guy who's from the Emirates, who's been going around talking. Yusuf.
What, the son of the Hamas?
I of course love the son of Hamas. I like, they tell you what they grow up with, what it's like overall at the dining room tables in the larger Muslim world, or in Yemen. And I've met people who are pro-Israel advocates from that part of the world. So I'm really curious about that, if I'm trying to be optimistic and not blindly optimistic. I don't know. What do you think when you hear Yosef Haddad just fire it up?
He's definitely, this guy does not care.
You don't even know. It's Palestine. You don't even know.
He doesn't. I would love to understand like where that love, like, is it more like hatred towards?
It's the show Dexter, the serial killer who kills serial killers. Like, it's like you took him out of the son of Hamas. I don't know. No, I
don't know what where it's from.
What it comes from.
Where does it come? What is this? Is it just like? Again, is it hatred towards the sheker, towards the lie, or is it actually love for the Yahud?
It's a good question.
I don't know.
Yeah.
My theory is one day we're going to find out he's completely bogus. I still think so.
He thinks son of Hamas gets off stage. He's like, you will not know what is Palestine. And then goes, that was crazy. Wow. That's just Michael's.
He's like, it'd be awesome if I was the son of Hamas. And then he just started doing it.
Do that right.
I will say, one of the people we met with was this journalist, Ohad something.
Ohad Chemo.
Ohad. So look, we went to when I got to Israel on this delegation we spoke about in the last episode. We met with the foreign ministry, and they spoke about telling the stories of the different things going on in Israel. They brought in
Ohad Chemo.
This journalist. He gave a pretty fascinating presentation. And then I took a picture with him. And he spoke about son of Hamas. He knows him and he knows his brother. They've both defected from the family. This guy's got Hamas contacts in his phone. He's talking about how he's in touch with people there who would be out as collaborators if he found out that they were talking to him. And so, even he said, he was shit. He was so shocked by October 7th. He thought he was making all these inroads, all these things. He's been there. And he told these crazy stories. I'll just say one. He told one story where he was in Gaza as a journalist and a car starts tailing him. It's a Hamas car. And he's panicking. He's getting very worried, very, very nervous. But he's a known reporter in Gaza, in amongst Palestinians, and in Israel.
No, hold on, but it's not. Amongst
Gazans. Can I ask, what do you say instead?
Arabs.
Okay.
Arabs. The Arabs know him. The Jews know him. Especially left of center media, whatever. But so this car is tailing them, and he's getting very, very nervous. It finally pulls it over. They go poof, poof, poof. Opens the door. They say, get out of the car, and they say, can we have a selfie with you? So his whole thing is, these are human beings we're talking here. Always human beings. And I always try to find, where is the human being? And then they shot him. No. but that was an interesting story, because you realize, in his mind, an anecdote like that is enough. I don't think it's enough necessarily, but it does make you think about, it gives you a different angle, and then we met with another guy who happened to be on season 1 and 2 of Fauda. And he's been in special ops, Duvan units. Mm-hmm. He's done, just like you said with Bibi, he's done more for Am Israel in terms of fighting on the ground. But he's also he's married to a Muslim journalist in Israel who's an Israeli Arab. And he has this other viewpoint that's obviously more left of center about it. It's what else are we going to do? This, they live with this reality of always aspiring. Sure. Which is not aspirations, depending on, can lead you to death, So we were arguing about it in a nice spirited way, but at the same time, I know he's not lacking in his support for Eretz Yisrael, Am Yisrael, whatever. He's fought for, and he still does. So where was I going with this?
Well,
the journalist. So I took a picture with him. I'm like, this guy's the bravest man I've ever met. And he responds to in Instagram, this is the most dangerous person.
He's one of the most dangerous journalists Am Yisrael's ever had. Yeah.
Yes. So what was the issue there? Because you're he's definitely brave, but you're saying painting this picture that
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
You see the difference between me and you? Is that for a second?
You had a palpitation.
100%. Yeah.
Oh wow. Jeez.
No, right away. I'm like, where's Tiferet? Where's Ora? I'm thinking my children. Right. Whenever I hear that sound.
The plane.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. It's just a.
Why the plane?
It just sounds.
Just
Rob.
sounds, booms.
just sounds.
I mean, this is just happening. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's the first place your mind goes. Where are my kids?
Of course. Of course. Right away.
You're like, I need a
Now,
coffee.
where's my Martin?
I don't know.
Where's the Martin? Where's the Taylor? Where's the?
No.
I need my laptop. I need my laptop.
No, not at all. No.
Where's my phone?
No. Listen, again, well-intended people that kept the country alive for 77 years. It's time for the next level.
Right.
That's all I'm going to say.
Right.
I had on Small Story. I had a really big. I had done some drugs, and I had like a big Akarsa Tov while dancing of like the souls that came down to this earth to create the state. Like, wow.
You have to have all the parasitos in the world to them. You really do.
It's so incredible. Like that we have a place to
Yeah.
protect, that we have a place that's in trouble is like
Yes, that's the Rabbi Wolpe thing. You saw
so
that?
mind blowing.
You got to go
take a
into
moment to think about
You got to
that.
go into Rav Kook.
Yeah.
Rav Kook's Torah is the one that really helps us be able to appreciate as opposed to be threatened by it.
Yeah. And then like you said, but there's also things change and they shift and like
Yeah.
there's that was enough then and
There's
something
a
else.
clip of Rabbi Wolpe talking about. He's like, I had a dream, and my great-great-grandfather appeared to me, and he's like, "What's wrong? Why are you so stressed?" And he's like, "Well, there's so much pain going on in the world, and the Jewish people, like Israel, is being attacked." He goes, "There's an Israel. There's a this. There's a that. Everything he keeps mentioning, he goes like." And I forgot, and the IDF, the army. It's like there's an Israeli army. There's a this. There's a that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
That's so important to have that in our perspective, 100%.
Yeah.
But it's not enough. That's what I'm saying. You have to have that in perspective. That kept us alive for the first 75 years. It won't do it anymore. It doesn't cut it anymore.
Do you have a vision that you've articulated of what the next generation what they will bring?
What they will build.
Or is that like still private and not shareable right now?
I'm not such a private, meaning I'm very shy in a certain way, but I'm not shy. I'm not a private person. I'm out there all the time.
Yeah.
I think our life's work is a testament to the vision. We're building a really dreamy community out in Efrat, and it's growing, and it's the most beautiful people in the world. We want to take this type of community and spread it out across the country. And that's what we're doing now by training young rabbis to become rebbes, to be visionaries. And it's happening more and more and more. Details and all that. I mean, music has to be an integral part. The arts have to be an integral part. It's amazing. I haven't spoken like this in a long time, but it's also Rav Kook. Rav Kook speaks a lot about that art's going to play a huge role in the awakening of the Jewish spirit. A huge role. And they killed him for that. They gave him such a hard time for talking like that. But you see it. Look. The biggest influencers in Israel, who are they? The musicians.
I was going to say peace, love, and carrots.
She's
the
great.
musicians. You see what happens at their show. I mean, and the musicians are not so much talking about, "Oh, baby, you broke my heart." It's like these dialogues.
It's a lev sheli.
It's a lev sheli. But it's literally right. It's a lev sheli. It's all these like real deep conversations between people that. From one hand, they're not practicing at all. To those that are practicing, to those that are in and out of practicing, but they're in the conversation, and it's amazing to see.
There is this return to meaning thing happening all over. I mean, it stems, you could say, in Israel certainly, and also as a post-October 7th thing, but also just everywhere. Like, what the culture is starting to look up to in terms of the younger generation. Is it like the guy who's careless and nihilistic, or is it the person who wants to build a family, build a life? You're seeing that, like that whole red pill moment where everyone's like marriage is cool, children are cool.
Yeah.
It's a pushback against. Remember, you said like woke is going to die when Biden loses and Trump wins. That's a part of it where it's like this doesn't lead anybody to happiness or fulfillment.
Did it die, by the way?
Woke's pretty dead.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Culturally,
it has flipped.
Yeah?
They call it the vibe shift.
vibe shift.
There's been
We're calling it the vibe
it's not
shift.
popular anymore to talk about identity and representation and diversity. No one wants to hear it.
Yeah, and
it's not.
The news
not,
clips that go viral, the person owning is the conservative owning the woke, dumb, like
that's interesting.
annoying idea.
That's
like,
so interesting.
This is all just white men. Shut
Enough.
enough.
Oh, Signed Jerry had a clip like that. You saw when he was asked, why is it that...
Oh, that's an old clip, actually.
It's an old
that's
clip
why
that just
Jerry,
resurfaced?
Then he's like, oh, he's like, it's just a lot of whiteys.
Right. I love that.
Yeah, that's actually old.
It's a great clip.
Jerry has balls. He said it at a time where you weren't supposed to say that. That's why they
I
asked
didn't
him
know
the
it was
question.
an old clip.
It's an old clip.
What was the clip? I didn't see it.
The guy's like, so I've noticed, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you this. It's a lot of white men in Seinfeld. Oh, this question, this really ticks me off. He goes, a lot. Look at this crowd. What's the problem here? A lot of whiteys. I really hate this, but go ahead. No, I'm not asking. Yes, you are. Go ahead. You have to ask.
Yeah.
He does this thing. He's like, listen, I'm interested in funny. If you're funny, great. If you're not, I'm not interested. What is this, the census? He said it peak woke.
I didn't know it was an old one.
That's like a 10-year-old, 5-year-old clip where it's like everyone's getting that question.
It's a great question.
Which is why you got to respect Jerry, because he'll say it when it's not popular. Unlike,
it's true.
Are you seeing this like a journalist going around who worked for Kamala, like an Asian woman who's like outing the Kamala administration and all their wokeness?
No.
And she's like here's what she's saying, how what they were trying to do, they were funding all of these things. She paid Oprah. She's trying to like out the whole campaign. The problem is she's only doing it now because Kamala lost.
Right.
She's like, I lost all my friends. I have to speak my truth. Would she have said any of this if Kamala won? But anyway, that's besides that. Like, she wouldn't like be outed. So it's like what Mark Zuckerberg said with Instagram. It's like, now we are going to let people speak their mind and say what they believe.
You see, by the way, Hillary would never have let that happen. Hillary is like a real killer.
Clinton.
Yeah, like no one like outed Hillary after they campaigned
because they were dead. No.
Yeah.
But the point being,
she's strong.
The culture's shifting, and now it's like a gigantic eye roll if you try to bring that stuff up in the culture.
That's so interesting.
Well, that is classic cis white male. Now that like Ben Shapiro, Daily Wire, they were pushing, and that tide is sort of only, I'd say, because of a Trump victory. An overwhelming Trump victory and a popular vote victory, meaning it's like all the demographics that they said he was oppressing voted for him. In higher numbers than last time.
Bizarre.
Yeah. Black people,
Very
Hispanics,
bizarre.
women.
The shift from like false to true now, I think, as social media happens very quickly. Woke could have been like a 25-year period thing.
Yes.
But it kind of like rose and fell
popped
within like 5 years. Because of social media, I think. Maybe it rose because of social media too. But
you notice it with comedy too. But like the things that people can joke about, like it's just they'll say anything now.
No.
When as opposed to before, it's like everything, and now it's like there's been this pushback, almost where you're like, whoa. That's where I think the problem with the Jewish community falls in this weird trap, where you have people sort of right of center now, where I never thought that was really such an issue.
Right.
And they're saying, hey, which free speech issue is edgy and we can play with and test the waters of free speech? Anti-Semitism.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about the Jews now. Let's talk about what they control, their power, their influence, and not be so nice about it. And that's why Jews can never win.
That's interesting.
And you're just like,
wow, that's so interesting. I didn't think about it like that.
Would you ever expect like a whole right-wing contingency online to be anti-Israel?
No, that's the most shocking thing about this whole story.
Never. I would never have thought that. These were the people who were like, what? It's not like they're pro-Palestinian,
but now that you're speaking about it in the perspective of history, it actually, this is not new. In a certain level, like it's new in our time.
Yeah,
it's not new in the world.
And now it's that part of that isolationist. We don't want to get involved in foreign wars kind of thing.
Yeah,
but I'm like, this isn't just about foreign aid and foreign wars. You have a particular disdain, and you're spilling into this whole like, and it's almost like some people are just playing with it because they just like to provoke. And so before you provoke the left by talking about African Americans, you provoke. What's the next thing we can provoke now that we're sort of ascendant? Let's talk about the Jews. And there have been Jews on the left who joined the whole identity politics train for years. So they were trying to cancel people and say, like, we're just like you, Marge. They were betrayed after October 7th by BLM and all these movements that say, we don't care about Jews. So we just fall into this crap.
I don't know.
So let's just move to Israel and party.
With all this talk, listen, I know this is like hot topics here, but it's like... It's so foreign to me.
I know.
It's so foreign to me. I know of it, but it's...
How do you even feel like... coming from Israel, even just having a conversation about it, does this entire conversation just feel superfluous and silly? And
if the answer was yes, do you really think I'd say yes?
Yeah, that's okay.
No, I'm not saying you're not enjoying speaking to us, but in general, like, are we even?
What are we doing here? Why are we alive? What are we doing?
No, I'll be honest. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
100%. But I think that it's important to
tell me about Efrat.
100%.
I don't take it personally
because we're just
talking.
What you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
That's why I asked.
Yeah, 100%. Like I'm thinking like it'd be amazing with like the kochot, the strength each of you have if it was plugged in only to like not having to fight. but to thrive,
Right.
wow. Wow.
Does that get clicks? No, yeah. I mean, look, but we also love. We're Yidden. We schmooze. So
We schmooze. I love schmoozing.
When we
It's
talk
fine.
about which shoe to
It's
put the
fine.
foot on, I mean, there's other topics that also might not
Correct.
need to be spoken about.
Does
But
this
we talk
exist in
about it.
Israel? Like I heard, like American, like English language podcasts don't really exist in Israel.
Hebrew, but podcasts in Hebrew have become huge this
Yeah.
last year. Yeah, actually, really interesting.
How do you
ones.
edit out the?
We could do Hebrew.
AI has a plug-in where you.
Then the whole conversation's muted.
No, it's a 2-minute podcast.
The captions are just EH.
It's been some interesting things going on in the Israeli scene of the podcast, because you have a lot of people that grew up very, very left-wing, not religious, that actually are having people on that they would have never.
It's like tats and
hung out
tefillin,
with.
you know, it's like a thing. That should be the name of the pod.
I
Tats
love
and
it.
tefillin.
Actually,
And
Yeah,
it's-
you're seeing it wrapping over. It's like
You see it all the time, and that's been really, really interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
it'd be cool to do over there.
I'll get inked up here and then we'll go wrap. What's their take on that? I heard Flor Hassan, you know Flor? She's like a minister. Was talking about like the whole internal like tension that brews between the Chareidi community and the if we're going to shift into the hot topics of Israel for a second. There's like real internal tension and problems going on in terms of Chareidim, army service, not just Chilonim versus general Dati, but like with the general religious community that is serving the army. But like, can Israel survive that domestic issue? That's like a real technical political thing.
Eretz Israel, Eretz Israel will survive. It will survive everything. The question is at what cost?
Yeah.
This is a hot topic. This is something that we're really dealing with, like, you know, like literally in the front. I have a lot of, I guess I cross over with a lot of different communities and congregations, because I'm in both worlds.
Right.
But there's no question in my mind that, you know, there's et milchama, et shalom. There's a time of war and there's a time of peace. It's a time of war right now.
So if just for people listening, the main issue right now, front and center, just for people who are like not familiar with this, is that the very religious community, ultra-Orthodox community of Israel, is not serving in the army and are not working, and there's a lot of social services and other things. Is that, I don't want to demonize. I'm trying to articulate it. Maybe
it's a
you
different
could do it
culture.
better.
Yeah, it's a completely different culture.
Yeah.
But they are living in the state.
Yeah.
They're living under the same.
And the demographics are big. It's like
huge.
10%, 20%.
I don't know exactly what it is, but they're, you know, average family there's probably 7, 8 kids. Average family, like let's say in Tel Aviv, is maybe two kids and a dog.
And you're vegan and
you're vegan.
So both are weak physically.
These are serious issues that we've been having to, you know.
And we're not sensitive to that. We're just saying Israel's got to fight, and we don't know like what, like there's
a
a
lot
lot
of oh my God, there's a lot of that going on. Yeah.
Yeah, from what I understand, it's become really contentious. Even within families, cousins won't speak to each other.
It's a war. You're in a war. Why should someone sacrifice his life and the other person's kid shouldn't sacrifice his life? Many of my friends never thought about these like this till their own sons are now in Lebanon, Syria, Gaza, you know, Egyptian borders heating up, until it happens to you and you're like, wait a second, why should my wife not be able to sleep at night?
Yes.
So you're someone that's like you go to tzaddikim who are like politically Haredi, and like you're like that's your world also in a lot of ways. What do like these tzaddikim obviously have a love for Jews in Israel?
Yeah.
Like have you ever heard anyone like what do they say about that? Like these huge souls who love Jews more than ananybody.
And what would you say about it? Because you were getting to some sort of.
I'm in it. I mean, I'm going through what's called an internal birur, sifting through to the, because on the one hand I'm saying we want the country to be Jewish. We want the army to be a Jewish army. For sure, the heads of the army, the whole way the army operates is very Israeli. It's not yet Jewish. It's not Jewish. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, keep going.
So we want all that to be, but until that happens, what other choice do you have? This is what you have. This is the army you have to work with to defend your people. But you got to be visionaries with aiming towards a different hanhaga, leadership. You have to. There has to be like, I'm going to fight, and then when this fight is over, I'm going to offer. We're going to be different people that want a different way of moving forward. But it's a really interesting question that you asked me, because almost all of the big, like righteous, holy tzaddikim that are my sources of inspiration and Torah knowledge are not the ones that are necessarily waving the Zionist flag.
Right.
And it causes a lot of like deep questions of like, wait a second. So who are you? Like, will the real you please stand up? And that's been fascinating.
What's the official position on that? Is it that it's sort of like the Satmar position that we are only in not Israel but Eretz Israel, and it won't become what it should become until
I don't think there's an official position. I think that there's a lot of different branches over here.
Yeah.
One of them is saying, it's just not. It's counter to all the values that we grew up on, the culture of the army. That
right.
You have to respect it. You have to understand that. You could respect. Yeah, you could even respect it, but the bottom line is that you are in a war right now.
Yeah.
To me, that is actually the bottom line. I hear everything.
So you have a different outlook on it in peacetime. What mandatory service in the army looks like in a peacetime, civil, regular context, where it's just this is civil life, and army life, that's a different thing. And now we're at war.
We're at war.
Yeah,
we're at war.
Right.
And I know plenty of tzaddikim that were killed, that were learning Torah day and night, and they were killed. How many pictures do we have of chayalim, of soldiers learning Gemara, learning the Talmud while they have a few seconds off in Gaza, but they're not,
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's what regardless of how you feel about the state and its current form.
Correct.
You're defending the people.
That's my point. That's what I connect to very much. Like to get back to your question, like forget state, not state. It's your family.
Right.
Yeah.
It's also you. Yeah, you are also
you and your
that's why anyone can. What leads you to when you fight in the army, you're fighting for you.
You're fighting for you. You're fighting for your own family. Right. Yeah.
Do you think it'll all shake out okay?
I just
like. Do you think it's inevitable that it will?
I think I'm sorry to harp on the same thing I've said from the beginning of this amazing schmooze, and it really is a very important schmooze, and I mean this very seriously. It's up to us to decide: are we going to be part of forming the next generation of light or not? I'm not banking on anything that's in front of me right now. Nothing. Listen, people ask me all the time, like, where do you get your inspiration from these days? Like, which tzaddik is like, let me tell you something.
My next meaningful minute. You don't have to go.
No, I'll tell you really what is my next door neighbor family. They made Aliyah from Cleveland about, 15, 16 years ago.
Whirly ball.
More or less.
Sport in Cleveland.
Like, one of my inspirations, their 20-year-old son was the one that, remember when Sinwar Yamach Shemo was fighting that drone?
Yeah, that's
my next door neighbor's son that I grew up with. That was his drone. And then he sent the coordinates, and then
yes,
wow.
The young kid who found him, kind of thing.
Yes, I mean this is a kid I see.
You're in it.
So that's what I'm saying. We're in it.
Yeah.
We're in the front lines. We're in it.
So what do you think about Piers Morgan and Norman Finkelstein? You're really disgusting.
No, you watch these people and you're like, I'm so not part of your conversation.
It must just be this distant echo.
Yeah. It feels like, oh, wow.
Yeah. You're like, all right.
No, like Tucker Carlson or Piers Morgan or all this chevra, like, I just feel so bad for those that actually shaping their worldview based on meaningless shtuyot, like nonsense.
So on that whole point of everything we just spoke about with regard to the inside, like close to home issues versus the theater out here, I ask myself, like, when I get into the weeds of this, there's two approaches. None of it matters. It's a distant echo. It's all irrelevant to real. At the same time, then things happen, and you're like, how did this sneak up on us? Was I not paying attention? How did the Jews all of a sudden find themselves in this precarious situation? If you're not paying attention to the culture, if you're not following the tides, and I don't have the answer. There are times when I get to a certain threshold, and I'm like, Dave Smith, you're going to go on tour and do some stand-up shows, and Piers Morgan's going to shut the cameras off. Well, that was a good one. And go home and have tea with your family. And it's a gig, and you're putting on theater. And it's all fun and not fun and dark, and like you're sparring and we're having it out, and people are patting themselves on the back for fake victories here. But it's all irrelevant, and yet, is it? You know? Mm-hmm. I really...
It's a battle. I don't think you're going to come up with a clear... answer. We're in because we're all in it right now.
It's
we don't
balance,
know.
I guess, more than it is a battle.
It's a balance.
How much weight to give something.
Yeah. The reason I pay attention is because what America wants matters right now, at least for what Israel does.
Right.
And what what the American leadership wants is based on the voters, and what the voters want is based on Piers Morgan, basically. So it matters what they're hearing from him, because they're going to then make votes, and then they're going to pressure Israel to do one thing or another. So I kind of watch it as like research almost, not as much to shape my own opinion.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's more like, in your world, it's about Israel's defending itself and protecting its people. In our world, it's about defending Israel's right to defend itself and protect its people.
Yeah,
So it's like one step removed. And we're just, I don't know, like you're keeping the wolves at bay, and I guess we're keeping the, I don't know, what you call them. The monsters at the gates, and we're going to ask what their pronouns are. That's Douglas Murray. He's like, when the barbarians are at the gates at the collapse of Western civilization, we're going to ask them what their pronouns are.
I wish they would teach Douglas Murrayism in yeshivas, just like how to talk emes. You know, how to just
righteous among a righteous Gentile. One of the greatest.
My God!
Woo,
you spent some time with him, right?
Yeah.
He's this. Where did he come from?
Well, I've been following him for a long
Yeah.
time.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
Some people didn't know. A lot of the Yidden woke up to Douglas post October 7th, but he's been on this front line of like radical jihadist ideology all through Europe, and arguing in UK, all these debates. He's debated Mehdi Hassan for years on like Charlie Hebdo attacks. He was on the news talking about let me just be clear what you just said, what you just did there. You know, like he's been on it for a long time.
He's good.
And then he channeled all his powers and superpowers into Israel.
He's good.
And yeah, he's been amazing. But Douglas Murrayism, and also just there's other defenses of Israel that I think outside of the typical Hasbara education we've had is people could learn from. Douglas being one of them, and remember the Enron stuff I sent you?
Yeah,
Our guy, Yaron Brook.
Yeah, Yaron Brook.
Yeah, where it takes a much more unapologetic approach. That we don't start from the posture of before you. It's not what it looks like.
Right.
It's like
It's
it
not
is
what
what it looks like.
right.
We're defending ourselves. It's what it looks like. Like, you know. Should we sing a song?
We'll sing a song.
We sing a song. We
Is
have
that a
we have
song?
this is a musical podcast.
This is a musical podcast.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna grab the ukulele.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Michael's
Let's sing a song.
Yeah, you want to hold it?
Yeah, I'm just
All right, that's plugged in, so it puts it down.
Let's
what are you
do it.
feeling, Michael? By request.
I was thinking Audio Tertov.
Unless,
Is that still popular? Or am I like?
Or is that like,
Well, what song are you feeling these days, Shlomo?
One of yours. You can do one of yours. So what's the tempo?
Chayota Ne'amot. I don't know. I don't think.
Chayota Ne'amot? You like that
your
one?
cover of that? Awesome.
Is that the pulse?
I'll teach you a new one. That has to do with everything we spoke about. 1 second. I thought we were going to talk about like my first gig with Ami Kozak and stuff like that.
We can still do that too. It was a holy gig. Brandeis, my sister's wedding, and then Brandeis University.
Brandeis.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. If you've made it this far, we want to let you know that Ami's House is now on Patreon. We love doing extra content, bonus footage with every episode. The best way to support us is to head on over to Patreon, become a guest, and support the show for $5 a month.
If you like watching Ami cut me off, Patreon is a
Patreon.com/Ami's House for bonus content. Thanks so much for your support, and become a guest.
Okay, this is the tempo. עם חדש, לב חדש, אור חדש, אור חדש, עם חדש, לב חדש, אור חדש.
Hey. How's that for a real schmooze? Huh?
Ooh, schmooze?
It'll take a minute.
Up. Let's do some. Or chadash, am chadash, lev chadash, or chadash, am chadash. Wow. It's like I feel like Wim Hoffing now. Like
Now let's hold our breaths for 17 minutes. Hold it in. Wim Hoff.
You got to be careful.
So you're on the internet. Wim Hoff.
Wim Hoff. I went to go. I tried to meet him actually.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was in Holland. I had like 8 hours to kill in Holland. I was running to Mexico, and my friend and I actually located where
he's based.
Yeah.
How?
Yeah.
You showed up at his house?
Yeah, we got Wimmed. Yeah.
Did you do it?
Hoffed.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of Wim Hof.
Really?
Yeah.
Effective?
Yeah.
Where do you,
The breathing?
where
How
do you
long?
do it?
Yeah.
God.
You have like a C?
Huh? Listen, these are things that are happening.
Isn't Wim Hof
everywhere.
just breathing?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you have to be in cold water for Wim Hof.
No.
Well, he can do anything, right? Doesn't he like survive everything?
He's he's not even alive right now, but he's surviving. That's how Wim Hof.
He's
Didn't
still
he
breathing
like?
somewhere.
Yeah, he did some crazy. He's done crazy things, but the breathing is what I've watched.
Breathing is.
Where he has you hold your breath for like a minute.
You know who the Mayor K is really into
Mayor's-
the like
Mayor's very
psychedelic
big
breathing
into
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But these
that's
are
his new
old,
thing.
ancient. These are things rooted in Kabbalah. It's not. I know.
Yeah, but
everyone's
now that
into-
it's nouveau and on Instagram, I mean,
now it matters exactly.
Yeah, there's this account called like Talmud IG. It's really cool. Yes, this is what happens every time I bring it up to friends. A certain friend, I'm like, check this out. He's like, dude, this has been there forever.
It's like 400 years. Yeah.
It's all the packaging though. So new packaging.
That's right. It's good.
I'm Chadash.
I got a question for you, Shlomo.
Yeah.
So I feel like you've been on a certain wavelength probably since you were like 9. Like you're probably the first time a lot of Jews have encountered any talk of like Mashiach or like chill and art and like the whole thing, and it feels like almost like the entire community is now kind of caught up in a lot of ways. How does that feel?
It doesn't feel like, oh, you were onto this before everybody at all.
Yeah, okay.
No, it really doesn't feel like that. But it feels exciting.
Yeah.
Honestly, it feels exciting and less lonely.
Mm-hmm.
Do you mean in particular way like a modern Orthodox crowd is ready to just like sing together without like being like
well, there's that, and there was that big share convention. Is that what it's called? In Yerushalayim, where like a lot of big mashpim in this world, like it's mainstream now, basically, to learn Hasidus and talk about Mashiach.
To talk about Mashiach is the latest outside of just Chabad circles,
right?
Which is very very much needed right now.
The Rebbe did good work, I think.
The Rebbe opened the gates for all of us. Yeah. The Rebbe opened the gates for you to have a beautiful hipster facial hair thing going on right now.
He did.
If it wasn't for him, I doubt you.
Mm-hmm. My family started lighting Shabbos candles through Chabad. Yeah. The Tina Chabad.
The Rebbe's the Rebbe. He's the Nasi. He's the head of this generation. But it's so beautiful to see, like, that it's not just an exclusive. That's what I mean. That's what I meant by that. Like, we know where it started, but it's amazing. But it just means that it has to. You got to be careful for it becoming a new
trend.
Yeah. And that's the danger. That's also the danger of anything that gets mainstreamed. So that's why the work has to keep on going deeper. The learning has to be deeper. The mitzvahs you're doing anyway, they have to be with consciousness and awareness.
Yeah.
Everything has to be with this utmost, like, this next level of experiential Judaism. Experiential Judaism. That's what has to be right now for it to plug into the deepest. 100%.
What happens? What's the next thing? You don't know, right? Because when something comes, there's always a cycle. But how do you avoid it falling out of favor? Right? Is the question.
That was one of the topics at the convention.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's like an unfolding of Jewish history in a way where it's not gonna fall out of favor. Like, this is the next evolution.
Right.
That's the
last year and a half certainly helps in a certain way, just nudge everyone into a consciousness.
Into consciousness. Yeah.
What would it fall back into like more text based?
Yeah, I would say the Lithuanians are coming back
anytime soon. Yeah,
I don't know. And all of a sudden everyone's a genius.
No, that was the aberration.
I guess so.
No, it's not that.
Yeah.
Falling into the text was the not normal. I think we're making our way back to the natural, organic state of what being a Jew is.
Right.
Yeah. Wow, you're asking some good stuff. I think it's
you.
exciting.
Yeah.
I wish I played ukulele.
Michael holds it. He's a real Kalbach musician. He's really a Kalbach. He stands on stage and shakes.
I hold the harp, I think that's what makes me excited about the next generation.
Yeah.
That they're not going to compromise. That's what I keep on feeling like. They're not going to compromise. My kids, I see it in my kids. Yeah. I have to be, how come there's no Beit HaMikdash? Oh, because why isn't there a Holy Temple right now? It's a great question. I'm not going to give you any answer that I was told when I was younger. That's starting from there.
Where do you want to go for Pesach? Yeah.
It's not really our...
not your bag.
It's not the bag.
Yeah.
It's not the bag. But aren't you guys excited? Are you excited? Are you guys excited? Or it's not so much?
It's a good question.
No, I think yes.
Yeah, I think so too.
Are you kidding me? I mean, beforehand, I think there's comfort in the complacency and there's comfort in the routine.
Right.
And like you said, it's always scary when things get, like, when the ship just rocks.
Right.
But it also, I think the fact that the future is a lot more unknown is, like, scary and feels perilous and feels uncertain. And that's there's a nervousness to that. But there's an excitement to that. Because things being known, it makes you complacent, it makes you satisfied, it makes you routine. Yeah. And we lived in that space for a very long time. And I was kind of happy there. But then sometimes that's what, I don't know, that's what existence is. It's like all of a sudden, or being a Yid, being a Jew, you get like punched in saying like, history's longer than I thought, and life's longer than I thought. And when you think, it's scary to think, oh, maybe this whole like, my grandparents come in, they went through horror, it's terrible, they built themselves back up, my parents put themselves back up, everything's good, cushy, good, wait.
And then boom.
Boom. And Israel gets a nice software update every 5 years. It's like a new place every 5 years. So, I know where TNA's going to be in 35 years. I just know. Scoop the dough. Scoop the dough, please. Thank you. That I know. Stable. Good. God bless you. But Israel, I don't. And I'm excited about that.
Yeah. It's a wondrous time, as Ron Berger said. It's wondrous.
It's a wondrous.
It's a little scary, but
interesting. Times. And that's what you want, I guess. But it should all end well. Any final brachas, final thoughts? I feel like we're coming to the close. Unless there's any other things we could go on all day.
Should we do a song? Another song?
One more?
Do whatever you want.
Got time?
Yeah. Close on one more.
What do you think? Oh, whatever you want.
Your call.
Because we have this here.
Just keep doing
this
that.
This is so great. I could just do that all day long.
Let's just leave Shlomo's voice here. Make some noise.
Wow. Have not recorded
Beast
that.
mode.
Yes. Wow, yafe.
Haven't recorded? That's new?
No, brand new.
Okay.
Well, maybe-
Am Chadash, Leiv Chadash. All new.
Yes.
It's all new.
And with that,
Yeah.
ousting Jam Rabbi Shlomo Katz.
Your brother.
Any shows
Holy brother.
coming up next week you want to promote? Tell anyone to come to?
Yeah, this will be out probably Monday.
Probably
so,
Monday.
Monday.
where can people find you?
Thank God, I've been traveling a lot.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to stop traveling for a bit. Please God, back home. I would love love for people to take me seriously with the following invitation. Not to my house. That's happened before too.
Yeah, that's
because-
good for Shalom. Oh, one of your friends.
I heard you on a podcast.
I don't know, for a meal maybe.
staying here, I'm staying
but
here.
I want you all to check us out, shiratdavid.com. That's the name of my shul, shiratdavid.com. We're about 160, 170 families that are on fire for being in love with each other, with the privilege of living in the land of Israel. And it's a bunch of people that realize that they may have made aliyah on a nefesh b'nefesh flight, but unless you make aliyah every day, it just doesn't work. It's a real thing. It's just a real meaningful experience. Come join us, even for a few days, for a Shabbos, for a Chag, for whatever it is. There's things going on all the time, all the time. So please, please, please join us.
Amen, amen.
Beautiful.
Well, we make Yorida here every day.
yeah.
It's just down, down.
Oy,
down.
vez
Slumpy,
mer.
slumpy. Well, I can't wait to come by, check out his very, very special place.
Please.
In Efrat.
Please.
Next time I'm there, you know I'm coming through.
Please, please, God.
Thank you, Shlomo. Sorry for asking you to talk to us today.
Are you kidding me? This was meaningful. It was great.
It was a meaningful minute.